She went from running two $100 million TV stations to helping over 3,000 entrepreneurs become best-selling authors. It's Miss Melanie Johnson from Elite Online Publishing, and Melanie knows how to turn your story into authority, visibility, and massive opportunities. We're here to talk about AI, here to talk about books and entrepreneurism and so much more. So, Miss Melanie Johnson, wonderful seeing you and speaking with you.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me on the show. It's good to see you. I mean, you know my business partner, Jen, so it's nice that I finally get to meet you.
Right. And then I followed the YouTube channel, and that's how it works sometimes, right? We kind of are interested in something and we do that search on Google or YouTube or social media. And then the way the algorithms work, they always have all these little factors in. So sometimes you search something on YouTube and then 2 weeks later, it kind of discreetly does the same search. And you're like, oh, this thing on the front page of my YouTube page, I was just looking about how to publish an audiobook and how to become a bestseller. Next thing you know, you see a Jen Foster, you see a Melanie Johnson. Next thing you know, you subscribe, you're watching videos, and then you're buying their book, you're reading their podcast. So there's a little crack as far as you let a little bit of the sunlight in and you kind of dig through someone's content. Next thing you know, they're everywhere. And that's what we want to be, right? You want to be someone who's known for things. And my understanding is you're the person to help us do that, right? You get some books published and some books sold.
Yeah. And, you know, that's a really good point. If you want to get known, like you found us, I mean, we're a book publisher. We believe in books 1000%, but you also have to have that footprint everywhere else where people can find you and get to know you. And that's why I really believe a book can be the cornerstone of the content. So when you start with that book, you have all of this content. Like you're like, what am I going to talk about this week? Or what am I going to make my podcast about? Well, if you start with the book first and you create all of this content, you break down the chapters, you break down your expertise, you break down your process, then guess what? You've got all that. You can just put all of that into AI and it can create thousands of pieces of content for you. So that's why I'm such a firm believer in creating that book.
And so do you say create the book first before everything else, or like where does that work in the timeline?
You know, you can do it either way. Like, let's say you're going to create the book first. I love doing a VIP day with our clients where we really break down who their avatar is, their ideal client, and then really speak to that person and decide what is the topic you should be talking about? What is the thing that you want to be known as an expert as? We had Stephanie Chung, and she had like 6 ideas of what she wanted to talk about. She was the president of a private jet company. And then we honed it all in to the type of leadership book that she should make. And her book has just exploded because of that, because she really honed in, excuse me, and had a great message to begin with. So you can start that way if you're reinventing yourself, or you can go, gosh, you know, I know my message. I have all of these blog posts. I've done a podcast like you and repurposed the content into a book. So I love repurposing content. If you already have a ton of content, you can use that as well. Jen and I are coming out with a book called Be Recognized. And we took a bunch of content that we had that we talked about AI and different things, and we threw it all into AI to give us some ideas of what we should be, our titles should be for our chapters and different things. So you can take all that and regurgitate it and rework it and come up with the book. Oprah Winfrey was talking to a gentleman who was writing I think a column in New York Times. And she said, you know, what would be great is if you took all of those columns and you put them into a book in one place so everybody could have them in one place. So not a lot of extra work. He'd already written all those columns and now put them all together. You have the minimalist, right? The minimalist, they were people who had blog posts, turned it into a book, and then the book became a movie. So I think you can do it either way is great, depending on where you are in your journey.
I like it. So many paths. And a lot of what you're talking about here, it sounds like it involves other people, right? Because I can imagine there's so many unwritten books out there. There's people that say, okay, well, I'll make my book 200 pages. I've written half a page one, only 199 and a half pages to go. And we've all been there, right? We had to write a term paper in school and we just said, oh, well, I've only got so many pages left. And what I always find fun and interesting talking to like someone that, like a book coach or a publisher like you is when they say, well, here are the paths, right? Here are the building blocks. Here are the people that we want to target and speak to. And then you work your way backwards and kind of figure out your best material and have some amount of like judgment, right? And you say, well, you
Mhm.
got all the stuff that you could say, but if you just mashed it all together in a random order, it wouldn't make sense. No one would like it. But if you said, hey, like, this is some great material of yours, but it doesn't really fit, or we'll put this before that. And so how much do you have to say just about like that thought process? Because I don't know why, but it's really interesting, right? To think about like the person and then what fits and doesn't fit and what ordered and what should be enlarged and shrunk. So like, tell me about the magic of how the master plan comes together.
Yeah, you really have to have a couple of things. You have to have a theme that runs through your book, whether it's, a leadership theme, whether it's, your process, but there should be a theme that you bring back to in each chapter. So all the chapters go together. They're cohesive. It's kind of like when you're decorating a house. If anyone's got creative and you walk into a house and you're like, wow, it's so beautiful. Well, there's a color or the colors are running through the whole house, right? So it seems like it's cohesive and it all goes together. So it's the same thing with a book. You want to have that theme that's going through that. Then each chapter should have a structure to it. And if you keep the same structure throughout each chapter, then it seems like it makes more sense to the reader and they want to read the next chapter because it makes sense. So we always like starting with a story, right? Start with a story, start with then from the story go to, well, what did that story mean, right? And then what are the things you can do to replicate what we just did as the example? I would say it's kind of like when, if anyone's been to church or listened to a minister, they say, turn your Bible to a certain chapter and a certain verse, and then they tell you the story of what that means to illustrate it, and then how to apply it to your own life. And it's the same thing for the chapters of the book. I always like to do, like, if it's a nonfiction book, to do like a little summary of the chapter and action items afterwards. So then if they are even after they read the book, then they can go from chapter to chapter and go, oh yeah, this is what I was supposed to do. Then I've got like the crypt notes right in the book for each chapter. So it's keeping that theme that runs through the whole book. So you're not talking about sales and one thing that doesn't go together and talking about something else. Like if it's a sales book, then it's a sales book, right? Keep that theme that's going through it. And then make sure each chapter has the same structure of how you're writing it. And, I want to jump in here about like DIY versus working with experts. So a lot of times I had an author the other day, she's like, well, I think I'm just going to, self-publish. Well, self-publishing is that the definition? I think it should be really called DIY publishing versus self-publishing, because you hire someone like us to do the self-publishing for you. So it's kind of like, or are you going to learn how to load the book up? What are the keywords? You're going to watch a ton of videos to figure out how to publish the book. And then you're going to hit these roadblocks. Like Amazon will come back and say, hey, we didn't accept your book. That's happened to us a number of times for whatever reason. That might have happened to you, Robert, because you've published so many different books yourself. So I always say it's like, okay, if you're building a house, right? Are you building the house? Are you the one that's going to be the plumber and the electrician and you're out there with the hammer and the wood and framing it up and, pouring the concrete? Or are you hiring people to do that really know what they're doing and that's what they do every single day? And I think that's the difference. If you want to have a truly successful book, you need to work with people who have done things for years and years and they understand the success rate. They understand what you need to do to make a successful book and to do it right the first time versus, if you have more time than you do money, I can understand that. Then you've got the time to learn and figure out how to do it yourself and save the money. But if your time is more valuable, then hire the experts. Make sure it's done right because this represents your business and you want it to represent the best you that you can and have it be done the right way.
It makes a lot of sense that if you were wanted to like the perfect house, would you learn every aspect of the house and build it? And I can see why people have these reasons why they do what they do, right? They want to save a little money, or you hear about
Mm-hmm.
the really bad stories of like if you luck out and get landed with a really huge publisher, then they'll kind of own your book, right? You won't even really own
Right.
your book. So I understand all of these hesitations of doing it. But
Yeah.
you're saying that the value is that it's not the first time that you're installing a toilet, right? It's not the first time that you're hammering the stairs, not the first time
Right.
you're hanging drywall. There's all these people that they know all this stuff. They love to do it. They want to help you. This might be their 200th book they've helped you out with, and they've seen all the do's and don'ts, so they can really get your
Yeah.
book to be what it can and should be. Versus if you're doing it yourself, you get stuck in one little spot, right? Get stuck with the cover, the ISBN, the approval. you might just stop right there for years and never pick back up, which is sort of scary, right?
And we've had people who have done like I'll say subcontracted the workout themselves, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I had these people do the cover, and it was so bad." And then I had to get another person, so then they paid twice or three times for different work that they wanted done for the formatting. So as much as you think it's going to be easy for your first book, and you're going to find all these people, it really is a lot of work, and it's disappointing when things don't work out the way that you think you want them to.
Right. So we want to do it right, and we want
Mhm.
to have that blend of, well, we have like the proven plan
Yeah.
when it comes to like building the pieces and writing the book and editing
Mhm.
it, but also have room for your own creativity and magic. And I love the structure that you
Yeah.
pointed out there. You said, well, you have the theme and then you have the different chapters, and it almost sounds like music, right? How music has like
Yeah.
the rhymes and the chorus, and it goes back to it. And this idea of, you have a chapter of your book, you throw someone into a story, so that way it's entertaining right off the bat, even though it doesn't all really make sense because you're kind of in the middle of the story. But then when you explain it and then you reference back to it and you have the action items, it's like, okay, now you've kind of tricked me in a good way of getting the information more than once through different angles, and now I really get it, and now I'm transitioning into the next chapter. And so that, again, a lot of this advice you're giving sounds fun, right? It sounds exciting to like get the writing out and get the book out. But then what I'm sure you've seen is that many people, they spend all these months or maybe years coming up with the book and writing it, and they say, okay, it's written, I'm done, now I can take a nap. And then, well, it's like, no, now it's time to sell some books and get it out there. And it seems like that's where a lot of people like miss and fail, right? You go and like, you can almost tell, you look on their Amazon page and there's no reviews. There's maybe like 2-star ratings. The ranking looks real low, and you're like, it's so sad. Who knows how much time they put into it, and they don't really post it on social months. So what can be done as far as getting the book out there, selling it consistently, making it worth all this effort it took to write it?
That is such a true statement, Robert. I love how you put it. It's like, oh, the book is done. Phew, now I can just sit back and relax. But it's really, you've created a product. It's another business or an arm of your business. So I look at the book two ways. It's a product that you can sell and make revenue with book sales, right? But we tell most authors, hey, you're not going to get rich by book sales. It just doesn't happen. Most authors sell only 250 copies. But that being said, we just had an author who, with less than, I guess, 2 months, he sold 3,000 copies to a bulk order. So there's that. But then you've also got to use the book as an advertising and marketing tool. So now it's become the secret weapon for you to use. And then you can also use it in social media to create all this content to bring people into your ecosystem as well. So the book has like these 3 layers to it. The most important layer out of all of them is to use it to bring in business and position it to get new clients for whatever your business is. We're talking strictly nonfiction books here, right? So write it for your business. How many times you're on a sales call and you only get 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you can't tell your whole story. You can't explain everything that you are. But if you leave this book behind, or you send it in the mail to a prospective client with a note, they're not going to throw it away. I mean, we get things in the mail of those little flyers, the little cardboard things that you get. I don't even look at them. I just bunch them together and throw them in the mail or throw them in the trash. So I think that's the most important way, is to leverage your book to get new clients and get new business in, and use it for that credibility piece, whether it's for speaking or, getting new revenue coming in. The other thing is, let's talk about book sales for a little bit. So how do you get book sales? So again, kind of leveraging it. If you're a speaker, then leverage the book to use that as part of your speaking fee, or trade it out for travel fees, and make sure that you're selling 200, 300, 500 books when you're going to a speaking event. Put that incorporate it into the event and into when you're speaking. That's one way. Another way that I think authors forget, they're thinking, oh, I just got to sell one book at a time on Amazon. So someone may have a terrible ranking or even not that many reviews on Amazon, but they've reached out to people to do joint ventures that they're selling, like our author who just sold 3,000 books. Right? So, I mean, that's huge. So if you can do those group sales to people who are, non-competitive people, like your strategic partners, hey, give your strategic partners 500 books to give away to their clients who could be your clients, right? So there's that part of giving the book away to use it to bring new clients in as well. And then using it for a PR piece, you can get media out of it. You can do podcasts. Someone has a new book out, they want to promote it. We did Shawnee Henderson's book. She's Shaquille O'Neal's former wife. And, she was on the Today Show and we helped boost her to bestseller. She worked with a traditional publisher, but, she was doing the whole media circuit because her book was out. And you'll see that all the time. Either stars are hawking a book or they're hawking a movie, but it's another way to get your face in front of people and use that as an advantage. And then how many clients are you going to get from that? How many new people are going to see your face? Like you were saying earlier, gosh, I saw you on YouTube. So someone may see me on your podcast and hear me on your podcast. And then next thing you know, they might be hiring me to do their book for them.
Right. You never know where the people find you. You never know where those paths are. And so you mentioned about this idea of like you use your book as a business card, but then your book can also lead to other things and you can come up with creative ways of selling it. And I sometimes psych myself out because I know we all have this self-awareness of where our weaknesses are. And I feel like when I have a book, I'm never really sure how to redirect people off the book and where and how much, right? Because you figure you have a book and maybe you have your URL at the beginning and the end and you mention throughout, but you hear in theory about okay, well, on your book, send them to this webinar, send them to this landing page, send them to this coaching page. But what have you seen or what do you recommend as far as how promotional to have the book and how often to work it in? Because I'm am I self-promoting too much or not enough in my own book?
Yeah, that's a great question because I did read one author's book. It wasn't done by us. And it was a friend of mine who wrote it. He's also in the publishing business. But then it was just, I felt like it had too much self-promotion in it. Every chapter was almost on every other page. So I felt like it was too salesy. So I think you've got to just gently put things in there. I always like if someone says, well, my clients, when I work with my clients, that, hey, this was the result. This is the story of one of my clients. That's kind of a subtle way. The other thing is, so you want to be, elegant with it, I would say is the best word. Don't be hey, I'm in your face with this. The other thing I think is great, as you said, in the beginning of the book, not just your URL, give them something of value in the beginning of the book. They're going to go to a landing page, but they're going to get something that they really want for it. So you can capture those names and emails because Amazon doesn't tell you who bought your book. Right. So if you give something of value in the beginning, and the reason we say in the beginning, not at the end, everyone's like, oh, I'd rather put that at the end of the book. It seems too much out there. But there's a strategy because Amazon lets you preview the book. And if you can have that giveaway in the beginning of the book, some people may go to that before they even buy your book, or not even buy your book and just go to the landing page, get the goodie thing. And then next thing you know, they want more from you. So that's a great way. Another thing I've noticed, we were talking about do people really want books? Is it worth the value? Alex Hormozy just did a huge, giant book launch. I don't know if you watched any of his stuff.
A little bit.
So he pushed out, sold 300,000 books right away. Pre-order is what he did. But then he did a webinar and then he sold something during the webinar. But guess what he sold, which I thought was so interesting because everyone's, you're thinking, oh, it's digital. It's a digital this. It's usually what somebody gives. He is giving, I think it's 12 physical books, 12 more physical books. So you're getting a library of his stuff. He didn't give them to you digital, only physical. You're going to get them in a binder of all these different books that you're going to go through. And then he's going to do a workshop, a class, old school, you're in at a university and they're going through the books and they're teaching you. And he's going to do a class when you buy this. And he sold it for $6,000. So he had a couple other bonuses in there, but think about that. You're getting 12 books for $6,000 plus the webinar, plus whatever else. I mean, people are seeing value. I know thousands of people bought that. Matter of fact, one of my son's business partners bought the package. So, it just goes to show you when you take that content and condense it and put the written word down, people see value to that. They know that they have it and you've taken your brain and dumped it out into this into these books. The other thing I think is interesting, which is trending right now as well with AI, we haven't really jumped into AI, but he cloned himself. So it's Alex's brain, like ask Alex anything. So all the content from the books, anything else that he's got in there. So you can go in and he's got virtual Alex that you can ask him things. I'm part of an AI mastermind, and they've done kind of a similar thing where it has all the information from all the playbooks and everything that's in the mastermind. And you can ask the Ask Me Anything bot in there, and it will pull it from, instead of me like having to look through all the pages to find it, it'll pull it up and give me the answer to my question right there. So, I mean, the future is changing, but I think there still is that market for those physical books and condensing all your information.
Right. There's the blend of the old and the new. And why not have both, right? You don't have to discount one and throw out one and have the other. And you can have the chat bot with all your information. And also, as you've said before, like use AI to generate a book like you and Jen have, and go through and, edit it and make it better and use it as your buddy. And it can all be a tool that helps other people and helps you. And so, as you said, there's so much that's happening that's exciting in the world of books and publishing and AI, and there's no way to fit it all into a podcast, but I've had such a blast with you. And in these last few minutes, I want to make sure that we focus on what you think maybe is missing in our conversation, because we've only just met, and I'm sure there's a great question that I could ask you if I knew you better, but I don't know what that would be. So in this conversation we're having, what's the missing question? What should I be asking you? I just don't know what to ask you.
I think one of the things is why are people afraid to publish? What stops people the most? Is it time? Is it money? Is it resources? And it's confidence. The thing that stops most people are, can I write this book? I've worked with presidents of large corporations. I've worked with presidents of NFL teams, and they're like, I just don't know if my book's going to suck. Like, I don't know if I should do it. Because you're so vulnerable when you put yourself out there, right? That you're putting your mind, are people going to like it? Even though I'm successful, it's this new way. So it's just taking that leap of faith, just like you did even being on a podcast and starting these podcasts. It's jumping through the fear to do it and just create it and move forward and do it. And you'll be so glad that you did.
That's what they say courage is, doing it despite the fear. And I imagine that if someone says, I've got all these excuses, and under the surface is the real hesitation, but I'm fearful, but I'm not sure about the cover, I'm not sure about all these other things. When someone has a team such as yours, then you can have those extra brains, right? You can have those extra reassurance. Alex Hormozy wasn't there doing the launch all by himself. He had a team of people helping him out. And so I can imagine if someone says, my own limited thinking and actions and these freelancers I'm dabbling with, or the friends and family that are great for the purpose that they serve, but as far as new experiences, getting out of my comfort zone, publishing a book, friends and family aren't experienced with that. They can't help me with that. And so it's logical that someone should say, if I'm looking into this new opportunity, which is publishing a book and using it for my speaking and getting clients, then it makes sense that someone should go to a team of experts who's done this and can help you push through some of those insecurities, which maybe they're really holding you back now, but once you push past them, then it makes life a lot easier. So how can someone reach out to you, and what's the value in having a team to help with the book creation and the book launch?
Hey, the value of having a team is you can breathe easy, you'll have confidence in it, and you don't have all that responsibility. It's like you can just do the fun part and help with the creation of the cover and just watch it come to fruition and get excited versus having all that stress of trying to figure it out doing yourself. And if you want to reach out to us, of course, our website, eliteonlinepublishing.com, but jump over to our Instagram, which is also Elite Online Publishing, and go over there and we've got some free resources. We have a book called Strategic Writing System there that you can get for free, and it'll help you get started writing your book with a lot of our systems, so you can get a jump start and get ahead and get that book out there.
Yes, it's time to do it. It's time to stop pontificating and thinking, oh, maybe this year will be the year I finally do it. Like if you don't have a plan to drive from Los Angeles to New York, and you say, oh, I'll get to New York eventually, somehow it won't happen, right? You have to get in the car,
Yeah.
fill up the gas tank, figure out the directions, take the right turn here. You have to do it. You have to make some progress. And you're saying that Instagram is eliteonlinepublishing.com, and you can find out about that strategic writing process. But the website where we really want you to go to is eliteonlinepublishing.com. You'll go there, you can join their community, you can get a free social media calendar for authors, and you can find out and get educated about what you need to know, even the things that you don't know, right? Like if you were studying to be a doctor, you'd have to learn about all these different facets, and yet people say, oh, I'll just publish a book. I'll figure it out as I go along. Well, writing's only the beginning. You have to put all this thought into your branding and building your list and your prospecting. And if you were to just kind of dabble and work at it years later, you say, oh, I wish I'd done steps 3 and 4. So why not have an experienced team to help you out at eliteonlinepublishing.com? You can go there. They have published over 300 books. Every single author they've worked with has achieved bestseller status. That's a tongue twister. And they guarantee that your book will become a bestseller on Amazon, or they will rerun the marketing campaign again for free. So that is eliteonlinepublishing.com. You get 100% ownership of the publishing rights, best-in-class book marketing campaigns. If you thought about a book, if you flirted with the idea, but you said, practically, I can't do it, get the extra help, eliteonlinepublishing.com. You can go there and talk to a publishing expert and just get the help that you need. So that way, a book becomes this bucket list item that you check off, that builds your business, builds your brand, get you those coaching clients that Melanie talked to you about. And before I let you go, Miss Melanie, it's time for the scary part of the podcast where I try to stump you. I try to put you on the spot by asking about a fun quote or lesson that has served you. So what comes to mind as far as a fun quote or lesson?
The lesson is, I just talked about this yesterday. In business, there's ups and downs. In writing a book, there's ups and downs, right? And I say it's like a Rubik's Cube. If something's not working out, you got to just keep moving it around to get those colors lined up. So don't give up. Just keep moving, and just keep moving those Rubik's Cube colors around till it gets back in line.
I like it. Figure out a way, solve the puzzle. And the first step for you solving that puzzle is by going to eliteonlinepublishing.com. They're here to help you put your self-published book out into the world to grow and give you a foundation of credibility, powerful marketing appeal, new contacts, and business, plus extra income on top of it all. So go there right now. You'll be glad you did. eliteonlinepublishing.com. Miss Melanie Johnson, wonderful meeting with you, speaking with you. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too.
You too, Robert. Thanks so much.